What's up, everybody? I'm trying to be consistent with my channel and I just have time. You know, I feel like I'm rethinking. This world is so crazy. I feel like my tolerance level for certain things that are happening in this country and even just my higher spiritual consciousness, I feel like I'm just rethinking a lot of my life pathway, if you will. And I definitely don't want to be a YouTuber. But it's just a lot of stuff that's on my mind, and as I kind of sit back and watch the world, see the manipulation, I empathize with people, these days who are, you know, trying to live some idea of the American dream, and it just seems more and more impossible. Um, I truly do feel for people. I think that some people, if you're 40 over, if you will, you kind of remember an idea of this country where it wasn't just so hard to get by, and there seemed to be a little bit more promise. We had different industries and possibilities that people can kind of go into. And it just seems like there's a lot of stagnancy and instability, across institutions in America. And, I think in these political cycles, people are hyper conscious of the things that, really disenfranchise them. If you are a serious voter, a person who's serious about the political process, right now, the political cycles are always a time where you are hyper conscious about the things that you are truly unhappy with. And as you are weaving through the politics, right, you are also trying to figure out who is speaking on talking points and who will be proposing policies that that resonate most to you. Now, obviously, these political candidates can't be everywhere at one time. And so, through the uses of their campaigns, they use advertising. And, obviously, in the age of social media influencers, they're even leveraging the influencers to push political agendas. I think most people saw the Aiden Ross stream where Donald Trump was on there, and it was one of the largest streams in history. And, kudos to Trump for having a streamer that is committed to him, right? And having a base. And I got to give props, like I said in one of my videos, new conservative media, you got to give them points for doing pretty much the same thing as the Democrats. And they've learned how to sort of mobilize people in a way that I think is probably very perplexing right now for the Democratic machine to really match wits with, because now they're kind of using their own strategies against them. So kudos to the Republicans for, not playing softball anymore with the Democrats, right? But I found this video that was posted by Tariq Nasheed. Very interesting. He posted this yesterday. He said, "Notice how all of these Democrat shill accounts are always trolling in our comments using the same regurgitated talking points over and over. This is why." Okay. Now, what he's really talking about is, if you don't know who Tariq Nasheed is, he is a foundational Black American. He's very vocal about pro-Black elevation, and also he is a huge voice on the reparations front. And, he's one of those people in these different camps of Black America who has recognized how Democrats have leveraged Black people, have taken advantage of Black people, have demonized Black people, have basically used us for our votes, but then really didn't do anything for us. And so he comes from camps like that. And so he gets a lot of backlash from some of the Democratic Black looking shills, right? Because obviously he's not a Democratic puppet. And a lot of Black people, they haven't went on over to the conservative side, or they're not Republicans. They're actually more independents, they have slowly but surely, newer generations have broken away from the Democratic Party. I think there's a lot of reasons why that is. For one, you don't see, I've never seen anybody and I'm from the Midwest, but going to a historically Black college or university was not a priority for anybody in my generation. And I think, why you see this more openness to other political perspectives is that you don't really have that clutch of old school. There's been a pro and con to the breaking up of the family, right? Because on one side, you had I would say, and I know this sounds bad, but the pro of the breaking up of the family, at least for the Black family, has been you haven't had a lot of these older voices really in the minds of newer generations, indoctrinating them with that democratic struggle train mindset. So you have a lot of newer generations, and I would say, if you're like 40 under, right, you are sort of, removed from some of these struggle idealisms of Blackness because it really wasn't your reality enough for you to be on those trains, right? And you see the Democrats, they've recycled a lot of that stuff to try to make the Gen Zs and the next generations, believe that this is their reality, this is the experience of Black Americans. But in the age of social media, I think that it's allowed people to really come from a very experiential standpoint. And a lot of young Black Americans, they don't resonate with those mindsets because it's not their experience. So and even with that not being their experience, they don't highly covet going to an HBCU where they can define what kind of Blackness they need to absorb. And so some people who I find that the most organic Black people, the ones that have actualized in America without all the chains and strains and expectations, are really the Black people who didn't go to the HBCUs. Like I find that when I think about political commitments, it's really I find that the ones that didn't go to the HBCUs have more of a self-actualizing mindset about themselves than those who are basically pledging allegiance to the keeping the Black struggle alive. But off of that, Tariq Nasheed, he posted a very interesting video, and I wanted to go ahead and share kind of some of the aspects of this video and get your take. So he was talking about these trolls in his inbox, and he was like, when you see these trolls, just remember some of these people are being paid. So let's listen.
By Protect Our Care, a progressive advocacy group.
And this is just fair usage for just conversational and educational purposes. But CBS News is reporting this, and it says political groups pay social media influencers to reach young voters.
That relies on anonymous donors. She made a video warning about Trump's second-term agenda. They almost help you script it, right?
Right, definitely.
She takes their talking points and puts them into her own voice, saying she always discloses when she's being paid.
Yes.
What's your rate?
So a video, just for a creator in my size, an average can go from $3,000 to $10,000 depending, and upwards.
Wow. So depending on how big of an audience these young creators have, they're making money. I mean, I guess, $8.5 million to take Cori Bush out the game from AIPAC. I guess this is kind of where it's going. I mean, you got to pay a lot of these social media influencers, just to, run certain content. And these people aren't committed to this content. Like this young lady said, she's talking off of their talking points. She just uses her own voice and she makes it clear when she's getting paid. But she's getting paid upwards of $10,000 just to run smear campaigns on Donald Trump. Like she said it herself.
She always discloses when she's being paid.
Yes.
What's your rate?
So a video, just for a creator in my size, an average can go from $3,000 to $10,000 depending, and upwards.
Wow. I mean,
Last month, Sunay says she was hired by Protect Our Care, a progressive advocacy group that relies on anonymous donors. She made a video warning about Trump's second-term agenda.
so this girl made a video warning younger generations, because this is what they're tapping these social media influencers in for, is to warn the younger generations about their candidate. These social media influencers are being paid to push these candidates, right? And obviously, because of their following, they're kind of bumped up in the algorithm, right? So all of, so it makes it seem like, their propaganda, their positions are something that everyone believes, because again, they're paying these influencers $3,000 to $10,000 a pop. And she said last time she talked about
Anonymous donors. She made a video warning about Trump's second-term agenda. They almost help you script it, right?
Right, definitely.
She takes their talking points and puts them into her own voice, saying
so she puts them into her own voice, right? But again, and not saying that Republicans don't have social media influencers doing the same thing. I think the Aiden Ross thing was a way for Trump campaign to reach that younger Gen Z audience, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, per se, if you're trying to win. I think it's kind of weird though, because some of these social media influencers, they may or may not believe, the propaganda that they're pushing out to their audience, but they're getting paid to do it. They're getting paid to do it. And I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Because I knew that there were paid protesters. Every time somebody gets shot today, there's like a whole army of people mobilized. And then I realized that they were, paying these people to mobilize, during these riots and these protests. A lot of those people were paid. Like in Michigan, they were arresting people who didn't even live in this state, right? Because they were paid protesters, right? So don't ever think that people are just that activated to protest. People are broke enough that, hey, you need a couple of dollars in your pocket, $175, you can be a paid protester for a day, right? I mean, you some of these protesters doing BLM, they were making thousands of dollars because they were just trying to hit every protest they could, right? Because that was their job. They were a paid protester, right? So a lot of these, voices that you see on social media accounts, some of these are even bot accounts too that are paid for. These accounts are meant to artificially prop a candidate and make them look like they are more popular than they actually are. And we actually saw that we see that in the music industry and the streaming industry all the time. So Kamala Harris tried to pull a Donald Trump, right? The Democrats are always going to, if it's working for the Republicans, they're going to try to pull it too. And apparently she tried to get Kai Cenat, who's a popular streamer who targets, pretty much children, preteens to young adult audience. And obviously that's who Kamala Harris wants to appeal to. So she wanted to jump on, Kai Cenat's stream, right? And I'm not going to say that wasn't a smart idea, but here's the thing. Kai Cenat is not an Aiden Ross, right? Aiden Ross obviously is pro-Trump. He wears his political disposition on his sleeves, right? Kai Cenat really isn't some politically vocal streamer, right? And so to try to jump on Kai Cenat's stream would put Kai Cenat in a position where he may be hurting his audience because he seems like a pretty neutral guy. So to have Kamala Harris on there, it could probably hurt him more than it benefits her, actually. So I believe he refused Kamala Harris's invitation to have him or have her on his live stream. And smart kid, if you don't think, I mean, if there's anything that Kai Cenat would do smart, that was actually a smart move. Keep yourself away from things like this, right? You make enough money where those little, like, I'm pretty sure they probably offered him money to be on the stream. Usually the streamers got to pay the guests to be on there, but I'm pretty sure Kamala would have did it for free or even offered him some money to have her on his stream just to get that visibility and that interaction, but it wouldn't have been an organic interaction. And just like when you see Kamala Harris on the other Black media type shows, you know, unless it's one of her pro Blackity Black and she's in a circle that she knows is in support of her, it's pretty awkward, right? She's a very, like, her interviews are very awkward to me, right? And that could be just nervousness, right? But she's been in the game long enough where she shouldn't be nervous at all, and she should definitely poise herself a lot
She
better.
always discloses when she's being paid.
What's your rate? So a video just for a creator in my size, an average can go from $3,000 to $10,000 depending and upwards.
Last month, Sunday says she was hired by Protect Our Care, a progressive advocacy group that relies on anonymous donors.
Jeez. So, you know, these people are definitely pulling all the stops to sort of artificially promote the popularity of their candidates. And I do believe some of these polls are lying too. I really don't believe that Kamala Harris is really doing as well. I think she's definitely probably doing better than Biden, especially for a lot of Democrats, because I think it was probably hard for them to reconcile voting or even pushing somebody in his particular state anymore. I mean, it was just embarrassing for the party. They took the L on looking stupid trying to prop Biden. He wasn't the best puppet at all, right? But again, they were playing that he was Obama's VP. Now they're using Kamala was Biden's VP, and it's just a card that they play. So this is very, very interesting. But let's see what else is on my radar. Like I said, I'm trying to be consistent with my live streams. You know, I'm gonna say something. And like I said, I have no dog in this fight, and you know, I have no loyalty to either side. But JD Vance, like, I mean, his whole story is just interesting to me. He seems like a Manchurian candidate to me. He just really seems like a Manchurian candidate to me. And I've been doing my research on this guy, but JD Vance seems like a Manchurian candidate. Something about his whole pathway, it seems pretty straightforward, right? Come from a poor family, right? You come from a poor family, that means that you have no trust funds, no real endowments. You came from a poor, struggling family, right? Then you joined the army, right? Now, you know, obviously maybe JD made a lot of great connections in the army. So like when he got out, he had pathways to his career, but it's like he went in the army, and after army, he used his GI Bill, right, to go to college, right? He goes to a college in Ohio. Mind you, this is still like the army one. He ain't coming out of the army a millionaire. Did he come out the army a millionaire? Like, was he just making just stupid money when he was a millionaire? Then they say that poor JD Vance, you know, who I'm assuming worked his way through his college along with the GI Bill, right? Then he goes to Yale, right? First year was, you know, free, right? That guy, something about that guy's story, it really just doesn't add up all the way for me. So, but again, all of these people are puppets, you know, and, you know, he's the guy for the Republicans, for Trump. But His story seems Manchurian to me. His story seems very Manchurian to me. Very, very Manchurian. This is Kai Cenat.
I got the fucking Secret Service calling me.
Sorry for the language, but this is Kai Cenat. He is upset because he got the Secret Service calling him. He said 5 times because Kamala Harris wants to. And why would she want to be on this? I'm not trying to be funny. This guy is goofy as hell.
I don't know. Hey, I'm going to keep it a stack. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Listen, I had a bad bitch that I've been trying to get on for like the last 3 years.
He said he got a black bitch, what he say?
2 years that I haven't spoke to in like 2 years that I haven't for like the last 3.
Wait a minute.
Okay? Listen, I had a bad bitch. That I've been trying to get on for like the last 3 years.
Why would Kamala Harris want to be on this mess?
2 years that I haven't spoke to in like.
Because she can get some props from these influencers.
I haven't spoke to this girl in so goddamn long who gonna have the audacity to text me, we need you a part of the campaign. At first I was thinking she was talking about like a video game, like a Modern Warfare game.
Because he's a streamer. He's a video game streamer.
Or if not that, a clothing brand. I'm like, what campaign? Shorty gonna say,
I'm telling you, why in the world would Kamala Harris want to be on this goofy ass guys? I mean, it's not even like Kai Cenat is attracting the most intelligent voter. He's not even attracting the most intelligent voter. He doesn't even have an audience that is a hyper intelligent super political crowd, because that's not Kai Cenat's thing, right? Listen to this guy.
We're not gonna get into details.
Does he sound like a guy that a presidential hopeful should be on his stream?
Some way, somehow, something was to go into where I do the stream of politics, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to sit on my stream and say, why did you guys call me?
Like he's wondering why they called him.
I've never did anything with politics. And these blogs are like trying to say, yo.
And I'm just
gotta do the shit. God.
I mean, he's getting pressure from the other influencers who are getting paid to be a part of the Harris campaign, right? Because they don't mind selling out, right? And this is what I told you guys before. You can tell when your favorite YouTuber or streamer has sold out to these little private political groups, right? Because their whole content changes, their whole vibe change. They start talking about stuff that never even mattered to them, right? And they have to plug these little things that never even mattered to them, right? Because they're getting paid. Old girl just told us they can get paid up to $10,000 for one single post bashing some political opponent. This girl said $10,000, and all she had to do was bash Trump and use their talking points. That's the easiest $10,000. Think about it. If you are a streamer, that is the easiest $10,000 you could ever make if you were a popular streamer and somebody called you and said, hey, we'll give you $10,000. We'll even give you all the content, and all you got to do is post it to your audience, right? These young people are not about to turn that down, even if they don't believe in anything that they're having to post. And so for Kamala Harris to jump on the Kai Cenat train, got the Secret Service calling this po baby. He said, they keep calling me, right? She really trying to jump on his stream, this guy's stream, because Trump just did a Ross, right?
God. And it's all the top blogs. And I'm like, bro, since when did niggas...
I mean, listen to how he talk. Come on now. And this is where Kamala Harris is trying to go, right? She really trying to get her black cred. And
fucking Secret Service calling me 5 times, nigga!
And this is where Kamala Harris, the Secret Service is calling this 5 times.
I don't know goddamn shit about politics, my nigga.
He said, I don't know shit about politics. He doesn't know anything about politics. This poor baby, he's like, I'm just a streamer. I'm really just a guy that likes to play video games and talk crap and do all kinds of, ridiculous things, right? Because I have the money to just get paid to do those things online, right? I don't know anything about politics. This isn't a political channel. And yet the Harris campaign, they are so desperate to get the young people, the black people cred and all of that. And maybe she's taking notes from Trump. Maybe she's taking notes from Nicki Minaj, right? Right, because Nicki Minaj, when she did her Pink Friday 2 rollout, right, one of her stops was the Kai Cenat podcast. She did a stream. It was one of the highest rating or viewed streams that Kai had. So, maybe she's trying to just do everything she can, and Kai Cenat just seemed like the most logical option. But Lord have mercy, this boy. He said, I don't know anything about politics.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't give a fuck.
He don't even care. He don't even care. But yet, I am pretty sure Kamala Harris was willing to pay. Usually the podcast will pay the guests to come on, like, what's your fee or something like that. It's like, I'm pretty sure the Harris campaign is like, look, I just raised $80 million in one day. Tell me how much you need. We need to be on your stream. He said the Secret Service is on Kai Cenat. They are on this poor baby to get Kamala Harris a spot on his stream. This is crazy. This is really crazy. And the kid doesn't care anything about politics. Nothing about his channel is political, yet they need those brownie points. A lot of us don't know anything about politics, and that's what most Black people are still going to vote for her based on her skin color. They need to look at what her policies are. I've been saying that, and it doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian American, right? There's the politics, there's the politics, and then there's the policies, right? The politics is the racism, the transgenderisms, all these isms, all those things that they need to appeal to your emotions and stuff. The policies are what they are going to do to you legally to continue to disenfranchise you or short squeeze your legacies, right? And I think, for me, and there's certain things about the Harris Waltz ticket that I am not comfortable with. And I mentioned this in my video before, I am a parent. I believe that people should live their lives the way that they want, but I don't think that groups of people should be allowed to superimpose their lifestyles on other people and their children. And if you kind of look at the policies that the Harris Waltz group contingency these people have supported, they have been directly disenfranchising to parents in certain Democratic states. They are signing laws to make it illegal for parents to usurp their children as young as 10 years old from making, permanent decisions to their bodies that they can't come back from. I definitely encourage people to check out some of the conversations that are happening in the UK and also check out the detransition movement that is happening. These people are radical, right? And I don't care how Black Kamala Harris may or may not be. If she's down for policies that usurp parental rights, to help aid and guide their children, because some of these organizations claim to be credible, but they're out here promoting nonsense, I'm not on your team. We have nothing to do with each other. And that's what people need to really start understanding. They're paying these young bloggers, these social media influencers, these Taraji P. Hensons, these to get on a mic and tell you how to feel about something. And it's like, you're a thespian. You're an actor, right? You know, I saw a undercover video of Michael Rappaport, you know, talking about what phrases should he use in relation to the Jewish-Palestine conflict to make him more money, right? If I say this, right, that's more money though, right? You know, these people are paid they're demons. They're demons, some of them, not all of them, they're demons, right? But what they're doing is they're taking some of these content creators and they're seeing how willing they are to sell their soul, right? Obviously, Kai Cenat has some form of integrity of his platform to not sell out, right? Because it starts with letting a Kamala Harris on there when she really shouldn't be on there at all. There's no reason for her to be on there. And if anything, it's just showing that you are endorsing somebody that you really don't care about, right? And a lot of these streamers, they're willing, these content creators, they're willing to get paid to talk on talking points, right? Let's go back and listen to what old girl said. She's a popular streamer. And this is $10,000. You can't make this up. I mean, shoot.
She was hired by Protect Our Care, a progressive advocacy group that relies on anonymous donors. She made a video warning about Trump's second-term agenda.
So she's talking, and she's probably one of those Project 2025 people too, right? Paid to promote talking points, fear tactics, right? And she's a beautiful young girl, you know, and she looks like she's a serious content creator. So no stab to anybody, right? I mean, but, you know, obviously,
they almost
hopefully she believes
right?
in it.
Right, definitely.
She takes their talking points and puts them into her own voice, saying she always discloses when she's being paid.
Great. So a video just for a creator in my size, an average can go from $3,000 to $10,000 depending and upward.
Now you know why they need political donations and where some of those $80 million of money is going that they're raising with some of these campaigns. They got to pay people like her up to $10,000 for a single post just to, you know, promote fervor about Donald Trump and his second-term agenda. This is interesting. These people, again, it's so many ways to get paid. All you got to do is sell out to something that you don't believe in. But kudos to Kai Cenat for not biting the bait. And hopefully the Secret Service would have watched his live stream, because he literally put this on his live stream. Like this, I'm not even into politics, right? So he put it on his live stream that he is not interested in having Kamala Harris and supporting her campaign. He doesn't want her on his live stream. So I think the Secret Service should stop bothering Kai Cenat, right? I really think that he has told these people what they needed to know on a public platform. I don't rock with you. I don't rock with any of that. That's not what we do over here. Leave me alone, right? So if the Secret Service, I mean, he might have to put them on a do not call list. He might have to put them on a do not call list if they did not get that memo, right? Everybody in the world got the memo. So if the Secret Service calls Kai Cenat again to try to get him to do a live stream with Kamala Harris, he needs to put them on a do not call list, right? Because obviously they are off. Now, if we turn around and see Kai Cenat have Kamala Harris on his live stream, we will know that Kai Cenat has sold out. We will know that Kai Cenat was offered the ultimate coins to help this campaign blackify Kamala Harris as much as they possibly can. Black men are being very, it's funny when we're talking about this whole idealism of blackness and stuff, and even Kamala Harris, just away from the race thing, but on just the issues, Black men are not with Kamala Harris. They are not with Kamala Harris, and they remember how people like Kamala Harris disproportionately targeted them. And I think a lot of people need to realize too, there are a lot of Black looking people, right, that are self-hating, right? They don't like Black people, right? And they specifically don't like Black men. And there are a lot of women, right, who feel empowered, right, to vilify Black men, demonize Black men. Maybe they've had some poor history with one, and now they're taking it out on all Black men, right? But they don't care. Black women, I rarely see Black women talking about how ambiguous Kamala Harris disproportionately targeted Black men. I don't hear and this is where Black women can kick rocks all day, right? Because sometimes I feel like the Democrat Black women are conditioned to be against Black men. There's something psychologically wrong with Democratic Black women that they would look at something, and I'm not gonna say all of them, but I don't hear any, I've never heard a Democrat Black woman really focus on the fact that Kamala Harris disproportionately locked up Black men. I just don't see it. I see Black men calling it out all day long. That's why they're not on her train, right? You can dismiss all that Joe Brown horse stuff, right? There are bigger reasons why Black men are not on the team of Kamala Harris, because they know a Black woman like that, right? Not all Black women have the same spirits. Not every Black woman have the same soul. There are some Black women who have zero interest in competing, tearing down, keeping Black men in the marginalized spot in American society. But there are some bitter, empowered feminist Black women who they can't stand Black men. And I think when we start looking at the different social segments and psychologies of people, it's like there are some Black looking women or Black women in general, they can't stand Black men. And so they don't mind doing things like disproportionately locking them up, right? Because they don't respect them, right? They typically run to having non-Black husbands, right? Because there are some Black women who truly believe that Black men are inferior. And they will allow the Democratic order to empower them above Black men, because that's just how much they hate Black men. I don't know if it's daddy's issues or what the issue is, but the a lot of these Black women, right, they're very feminist. And as much as they cry about injustices and everything like that, to me, the greatest justice for a Black woman is just finding a really good Black man and surviving. But obviously that's pretty taboo. But let me know what you all think about these paid influencers. I thought this was very interesting because when I think about these paid protesters, I was wondering, I'm like, dang, this dude got killed yesterday, and then all of a sudden all these people are mobilized today to protest it. I'm like, imagine if people just mobilize like that without the money, right? We could get a lot of stuff done in society, right? But these protesters are paid, these influencers are paid. And the one thing that we can all agree on is that we shouldn't listen to celebrities and influencers when we're making political decisions, because many of them are paid. They are paid. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Let me know what you guys think. Just raising some higher consciousness here. Sometimes when you see your favorite blogger or whatnot, ask yourself, have they changed a little bit? do it seem like they're going more on this extreme side? If you are saying things like that about your favorite content creator or blogger, just know they probably sold out. They are probably a shill for a echo chamber now, and they have to stick to the talking points of that echo chamber. So anything else on my radar? I don't really want to do a full hour, but this is Cackling Kamala. What is Kamala talking about here?
And as a woman,
That's a woman.
there's a balance to be struck between being tough and being a bitch. Turn that off.
I'm gonna just say this. Kamala Harris is a very unique type of woman, right? She's a specific type of woman, okay? When you empower women like this, if Kamala wins, like I think, like at this point, I feel like if anybody, you know, nobody really should be going super hard on Kamala Harris, right? They really shouldn't be just all in on trying to vilify her character, because there might be a chance she could win. And this woman seems like she kind of comes back for blood. This seems like a vengeful person. This seems like somebody who...
There's a balance to be struck between being tough and being a bitch.
Okay, and being a bitch, okay? Yeah. If this is our president, right? And I mean, I don't know. I don't know about this woman. I don't know about any of these people. I don't know about any of these people because honestly, I think either one of them will bring in the era of the Antichrist. But I feel like, you know what it is about Kamala Harris? Every woman has this empowered woman in them, right? And you know, you kind of think about what would you be like if you were a super ambitious woman, right? And I think for right now, like I don't even think that the Kamala Harris that we've been seeing these 4 years of cackling woman, I mean, I really think this is the pigeonhole. Let me just play my role. But I think once she gets empowered, I think we're going to be seeing a different face. I don't think she's going to be cackling so much. I think she might have a little bit more conviction about her. And yeah, I'm at the point. I mean, it's like choosing the best of the worst. I can't tell y'all who to pick, but Trump is looking better every moment. I look at this woman, you know, and I don't know if it's that she's a woman and people are not ready for a woman to be president. I don't really feel like that is my position. I just feel like there's something off about this woman. What do you think about Kamala Harris's beef making it where the illegals can get? Oh, I did a video earlier about just how radical I think that guy is. And aside from, because even in Michigan in 2020, they were trying to, they had petitions going around because I ran into somebody at the Myers parking lot to legalize everybody being able to get IDs here in Michigan, right? So this is definitely something that the Democrats are prioritizing, pushing, because it really just gives them a way to get the illegals into the voting process and also even into the working process too, because you need an ID to be able to work, right? Unless, you know, somebody's paying you under the table. But with Tim Walz, I don't like all of this trans law stuff that he's passed, right? putting tampons in boys' bathroom. I mean, I definitely don't support candidates who try to usurp, you know, the parent-child relationship and even the parent-child authority. And with a lot of these Democrats with this trans stuff, you know, they're giving kids autonomy to make life-altering decisions as early as 10 years old without their parents. And I just think that's awful. This guy is not only a champion of this stuff, he has signed laws on the lines. And I also don't like his stance on abortion, allowing people to terminate up to the date of birth. And if anybody has had kids, I have 3 children and I carried my children. And even at 32, 36 weeks, you have a fully functional baby that can come out and live, right? And I think that to say that somebody can kill something up until that point, you know, where they're able to live outside the womb if they were born, right? That's very radical. That's very, very radical. And I don't think that anybody should be supporting murder, because to me, abortion up to the day of due date is murder at that point, right? It really is. I mean, that is a life form that deserves to be able to live. And if you don't want it, give it away. But I just think up to the due date is disgusting. And Tim Walz supported that too. And that's signed into Minnesota's bill. So Kamala Harris, her VP shortlist, it was not good for her at all. It wasn't good for her at all. Okay, because Buttigieg was going to get hit on his failure with the Ohio and the natural disasters, right? He was going to get ethered on that, so she couldn't pick him. Josh Shapiro, he was going to get ethered on that Greenberg woman who ended up being violently murdered, and somehow her murderer ended up getting off because he was a donor to Shapiro, you know. And then, Mark Kelly, he was not interesting. I don't think he would have really just did it. You know, I don't care if he was an astronaut or not. He just was not going to be the best one. I mean, the better looking one was Josh Shapiro, but basically they get either, and I said this in another live stream, Kamala Harris, if she would have picked Josh Shapiro, they would have just lost the women vote. Shapiro would have made her lose the women vote, because you got to go check out, you know, that case that came back up against him, and they really couldn't afford that. They couldn't afford it, right? Josh Shapiro was dead. So really, the Democrats propped up for Kamala because she did not personally pick her own VP, right? She didn't pick her own VP. The Democrats had a whole little list of their establishment, nepotism type of people already locked and loaded for Kamala, right? Because she's not making the decisions. None of these people are making the decisions, right? But they gave her the best of the worst of the establishment children and offspring and legacies, right? And she came out with Tim Walz, which, you know, I'm not trying to be funny, right? But it goes back to, you know, John F. Kennedy, right? John F. Kennedy was a very attractive man, right? And then you go to Bill Clinton. No matter what you think about his politics, Bill Clinton was not hard on the eyes, you know? And Kamala Harris, you know, minus the neck, is not terrible on the eyes as well, right? Her VP, this dude, like when he talks, it's like very weird to me. I don't think that's a good pairing together. But they said that Kamala needed a white guy, right? They said that she needed a white guy because they didn't want to scare off the white voters who would be too intimidated if they put another woman beside her, or somebody black. It's interesting, right? Because Trump doesn't have those problems, right? Trump was able to grab another white guy, no problem, right? Without any thought. No thought, right? No thought. But for Kamala Harris, right, they have to think about why she needed the white guy to stand next to her because she couldn't do it by herself, which was like, you know, it was a bittersweet reality for me. It really was. It was a bittersweet reality for me, a reality that I've always known. But it's like, I hate to say this because some people are going to feel very offended, but it almost seems like, you know, Black people can't stand tall without a white person behind us. It's almost like we need a white person behind us. If they're a good person, maybe they'll stand next to us. But I think, you know, just the rationality for why Kamala Harris needed a white vice president was just enlightening to me, you know? And it's almost like a conclusion, a sad conclusion that, you know, as a Black person, you're really never going to get anywhere in America without having a white person behind you. And thank you for not being offended. But it's just like they just showed us reality with this Kamala Harris card, you know, and that's the plain reality for Black people in America. If you don't have a white person behind you, you're not going to make it. So what a dilemma for the Black supremacist type who don't want to have anything to do with the white folks. Boy, lots to reconcile there. You need a white person behind you to be successful. And, you know, here's the thing. In my experience, career elevation, suggestion, it's been the white men. The white men has always kind of been there to be on my team. And so it's like, I understand why Kamala Harris needs to have a white VP. It just sucks that she has the selection that she did. Right? I mean, I don't know. Are there any other white Democrats that could have been on her short list? Right? And I understand why Gretchen Whitmer couldn't. I understood why Gretchen Whitmer couldn't, and maybe even Gavin Newsom, but I know why Gretchen Whitmer could not, because they would have killed her on the nursing home situation during COVID. They would have. Did anybody wonder why Gretchen Whitmer, Big Gretch, right? Second to Andrew Cuomo during COVID, right? She was one of their big Democratic props. I really thought that Gretchen Whitmer was going to be a VP prospect, right? But after all that stuff came out between Michigan, New York, about how the nursing home situations were handled during COVID, I'm pretty sure they're like, nope, this is a liability, because then that would just reignite a lot of the COVID mitigation strategies and it would piss people off. And the Republicans would have a field day on Gretchen Whitmer. Big Gretch. Somebody mentioned knee pads with that one. Anyways, I'm about to get off of here. Thank you so much for hanging out. Is it PMA 64? Thank you so much for hanging out. If you like content like this, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button as well. And we're going to keep it real. Like I said, I have no commitment to these political parties. Any echo chamber of thought, I'm just speaking from observation and what I see. And there's a lot that Kamala Harris is going to have to get over. I don't believe the polls. I do not believe that it is actually that tight with Kamala Harris and Trump as these polls are claiming. I don't believe them. I don't believe them at all. I mean, there are so many reasons, to not want to support Democratic policies in general and Kamala Harris, right? But I don't believe these polls at all. I don't. I really, really don't. So don't believe the hype. I think the polls, the manipulation of the polls, are really just a way to set up a fraudulent election outcome, if anything, right? Because then they can say, well, the polls were really tight, so we really couldn't really call and see who would win. And it's like, popularity-wise, I'm not seeing Kamala Harris really up on top right now in these conversations, right? I don't see even the Democratic shills, in my opinion, they're having a hard time selling Kamala Harris because even they don't like her. I don't really think Democrats really like Kamala Harris. I don't think they like her at all. Like, I mean, even when, Kamala Harris does all this cackling, you've never seen the Democrat shills once defend her. I mean, and she has had like a rough press run as a VP. I mean, honestly, I feel like, after the first couple of years with the border czar and she was just looking and cackling so much, it seemed like Kamala disappeared for at least a good year in this presidency before we even saw her again popping up in other little Black places, like to appeal to Black people. But I really didn't see too much Kamala Harris did or take charge of during this administration. So, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of reasons to want to vote for her at all. So that's why I believe these polls are lying. I really do. I think that Trump has I won't say significantly, but I definitely feel like he has a little bit more favorability than Kamala Harris. But right now, they are showing Trump and Kamala Harris being neck and neck. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. Yeah, they're trying to sell her. And like I told people, this is how they do. When you look at, I talked about this, like the music industry, right? And they're propping up these artists and they're trying to make them seem hotter than what they really are. But then when they actually drop an album and you got to look at their pure sales, which pure sales are king, right? And then they're not selling like they're streaming. There's a disconnect. The math isn't mathing. Oh, okay. That's why. Streams can be manipulated. And this is where you get all these social media bots, these paid influencers. You can do a lot to artificially manipulate the streams or the likability of somebody, right? But the proof is always going to be in the pudding, right? And either the Democrats got a trick up their sleeve to be able to freak this election again like they did to get Weekend at Bernie's, aka Joe Biden elected, right? Or they know they're about to take an L that Trump is going to win. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. And like I said, if you like this comment, like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye. Oops, I don't want to add nothing.